The ancient temple shook as Elder Kithara raised her arms to the glowing crystal above. The summoning ritual had not been used for 1,000 years, but their world was dying. The Vorthic Empire grew stronger each day, and her peaceful people had no way to fight back. "We need heroes," she whispered to High Priest Velman. "The old stories speak of champions who saved worlds. We must call them here." Velman nodded, his blue skin pale with worry. Around them, 12 other priests chanted in the old language. The crystal began to spin faster, creating a bright portal in the air above the temple. "Through space and time, we call the brave." Kithara spoke the ancient words. "Come to us, heroes of legend. Save our dying world." The portal grew larger and brighter. Lightning cracked around its edges. The priests stepped back as wind began to howl through the temple. Far away on Earth, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Valiant. Around his ship, the largest naval exercise in 20 years was taking place. Destroyers, cruisers, and supply ships stretched across the Pacific Ocean as far as he could see. "Sir, we're picking up some strange readings," said his radar officer, Morrison. Looked at the screen. A bright light was forming in the sky above the fleet. "What is that thing?" Before anyone could answer, the light expanded. It covered the entire fleet like a giant net. Morrison felt his stomach drop as the ocean disappeared below them. The ships were being pulled upward into a tunnel of swirling colors. "All hands brace for impact." Morrison shouted into his radio. "Back!" On the alien world, the temple filled with blinding light. When it faded, Kithara gasped. Instead of a few noble warriors, she saw dozens of massive metal ships floating in the air above her city. These were not the heroes she had expected. Captain Lisa Carter was the first human to step through her ship's transport beam. She landed on the temple steps with her Marines behind her, all carrying rifles. The aliens stared at them in shock. Carter looked around at the blue-skinned beings. They wore flowing robes and carried no weapons. These did not look like enemies, but her training told her to stay ready for anything. "I'm Captain Carter of the United States Navy," she said, her translator device making her words clear to the aliens. "Who are you, and why did you bring us?" "Here?" Elder Kithara fell to her knees. "Forgive us, great warriors. We called for heroes to save our world, but we did not expect." She looked up at the warships still floating above the city. "We did not expect an entire army." "Commander Alex." Rodriguez appeared next to Carter with more Marines. He had already scanned the area for threats. "Captain, I count over 200 aliens in the immediate area. No weapons visible, but I'm reading some kind of energy sources in the buildings." Chief Engineer Danny Walsh joined them, carrying a scanner. "These readings are off the charts. Ma'am, whatever brought us here uses technology I've never seen before." Admiral Morrison's voice came through their radios. "All units, establish defensive positions. We don't know if these aliens are friendly or hostile." Dr. Amanda Foster, the fleet's science officer, approached the group of aliens carefully. She had studied first contact procedures her entire career, but never thought she would use them. "We mean no harm," she said to Elder Kithara. "But we need to understand what happened to us. Can you explain why we're here?" Kithara stood slowly, her hands shaking. "Our world is under attack by a terrible empire. They destroy everything in their path. We used an ancient ritual to call for heroes, beings of great power, who could help us fight. And instead you got us," Carter said, looking back at the massive fleet. "You pulled an entire naval battle group through space." "We are not heroes," Dr. Foster explained gently. "We are humans from a planet called Earth. We were conducting military exercises when your ritual brought us here." High Priest Velman stepped forward. "But you must be warriors. Look at your great ships of war. Surely you can help us fight the Vorthic Empire. Admiral Morrison's shuttle landed nearby. He walked toward the group with his officers, studying the aliens carefully. He had fought in 3 wars and could tell when someone was truly desperate. "I'm Admiral Morrison, commander of this fleet," he said. "Tell me about this empire that threatens you." Elder Kithra's eyes filled with tears. "The Vorthic are destroyers. They take worlds and enslave the people. They have weapons we cannot fight against. Our people have lived in peace for centuries. We know nothing of war." Morrison looked at his officers. Captain Carter nodded slightly. These aliens seemed harmless, but the situation was still dangerous. "How many ships does this empire have?" Morrison asked. "Thousands," Velman replied. "They move from system to system like a plague. 3 of our colony worlds have already fallen." Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Martinez, Morrison's tactical officer, stepped forward. "What kind of weapons do they use?" "Energy beams that can destroy cities," Cathara said. "Ships larger than your largest vessel. They attack without warning and show no mercy." Morrison considered this. His fleet was stranded in an unknown part of space, facing an enemy they knew nothing about. But these aliens had made a mistake when they summoned humans. "You said you called for heroes," Morrison said finally. "You might not have gotten what you expected, but you got something else. You got humans. What does that mean?" Cathara asked Doctor. Foster smiled grimly. "It means you summoned us from what we call a death world. Earth is one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. Every human has survived things that would kill most other species. We've been fighting wars for thousands of years," Carter added. "It's what we do best." Morrison looked up at his fleet, then back at the aliens. "You wanted heroes to save your world. We're not heroes, but we're something better. We're humans, and we don't know how to give up." Elder Cathara stared at them with growing hope. Perhaps the mistake had not been a mistake at all. Perhaps it had been exactly what they needed. The next morning, Dr. Amanda Foster sat across from Elder Cathara in the temple's meeting hall. Between them lay strange devices that helped them understand each other's languages better. Around the room, other humans and aliens watched nervously. "Tell me about your people," Foster said kindly. "How long have you lived in peace?" Cathara touched a glowing panel on the wall. Pictures appeared in the air, showing beautiful cities with no walls or weapons. "For 800 years, we have had no wars. We learned to solve problems with words, not violence." Major Kevin Brooks, who had been listening quietly, stood up and walked to a heavy stone table. He lifted it easily with one hand, making the sing. Aliens gasped. "On our world, we have to be strong just to survive," he said. Setting the table down gently, Medic Samantha Hill opened her medical kit. "We also have to fight diseases that would kill most people. Our bodies learn to heal from things that would be deadly to others." Elder Cathara looked frightened. "Your world sounds terrible. How do you live in such a place?" "It made us tough," Foster explained. "Every human has survived things that seem impossible. We adapt, we overcome, and we never give up." "Lieutenant." Colonel Ryan Martinez spread out star charts on the table. "Show me where the Vorthic Empire is based," he said. High Priest Velman pointed to several red areas on the map. "They control all of these systems. Their main fleet stays here near their home worlds." Martinez studied the positions. "They're spread out too thin. Classic mistake for an empire that relies on fear rather than strategy." "What do you mean?" asked General Thyros, the Zephyrian military commander. "They put their ships where they can be seen, not where they can fight best," Martinez explained. "They want people to be scared, so they show their strength instead of using it wisely." General Thyros looked ashamed. "We disbanded our military 3 centuries ago. We believed war was something our species had grown beyond. Captain Amy Nelson of the USS Ranger leaned forward. That's noble, but it left you defenseless. The universe has predators, and they hunt prey that can't fight back. Dr. Foster pulled up images from Earth's history on her tablet. Humans learned long ago that peace is something you have to fight for. We've had to defend ourselves from other humans, dangerous animals, diseases, and natural disasters. Your planet tried to kill you? Kithara asked in shock. Every day, Foster replied. Earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanoes, floods. Animals with claws, teeth, and poison. Even our air and water can be dangerous in some places. Commander Tony Parker, an engineer, looked at the Zephyrian technology around them. But your science is incredible. These energy sources, your computers, even this translation system. You're far ahead of us in many ways. We focused on creation, not destruction, Velman said sadly. We never thought about using our knowledge. For war. Admiral Morrison entered the hall with several of his officers. We've been studying the information you gave us about the Vorthic Empire. I have a proposal. Everyone turned to listen. My fleet is stranded here, Morrison continued. We can't go home until we understand your technology better. In the meantime, you're facing an enemy that will destroy everything you've built. What are you suggesting? General Thyros asked. An alliance, Morrison said simply. We help you. Defeat the Vorthic threat. In return, you help us either get home or establish colonies here. Elder Kithara looked worried. But you are warriors from a violent world. How do we know you won't become like the Vorthic once the fighting is over? Captain Lisa Carter stood up. Because we fight to protect, not to conquer. On Earth, our strongest warriors often become peacekeepers when the fighting ends. We have rules about war, added Martinez. We protect civilians. We don't destroy what we don't have to. And we try to make the peace better than what came before. Dr. Foster activated her tablet again, showing images of human soldiers helping rebuild. After conflicts, we've learned that winning a war means nothing if you can't win the peace that follows. Chief Petty Officer Lara Jones, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. My grandfather fought in 3 wars. He used to say that the point of being a warrior isn't to love fighting. It's to protect the people who can't fight for themselves. Kithara studied the humans around her. They were clearly dangerous, but they didn't act like conquerors. They asked questions instead of making demands. They showed respect for her people's achievements, even while pointing out their weaknesses. What would this alliance require from you? She asked. Information about the Vorthic, Morrison replied. Access to your technology, so we can adapt our weapons and defenses. Bases where we can resupply and repair our ships. From you? We'll train your people to defend themselves. We'll share our military knowledge. And we'll lead the fight against the Vorthic Empire. General Thyros looked uncomfortable. Our people have never learned to fight. I'm not sure they can. Sergeant First Class Billy Thompson grinned. General, give us 6 weeks with your volunteers. We'll teach them everything they need to know. But won't that make us like the Vorthic? Velman asked. Won't learning war change who we are? Captain Nelson shook her head. There's a difference between being able to fight and wanting to fight. We're not trying to make you into warriors. We're trying to make sure you survive. Doctor. Foster leaned forward. On Earth, we have a saying, if you want peace, prepare for war. It means that sometimes the best way to avoid violence is to be ready for it. Elder Kithara was quiet for a long time. Around the room, humans and aliens waited for her decision. Finally, she looked up. 3 days ago, I thought we were going to watch our civilization die, she said slowly. Today, you offer us hope. But hope requires trust. She stood and walked to Admiral Morrison. "I accept your alliance, Admiral, but I have conditions." "Name them." "You must promise that when this war is over, you will help us rebuild in peace. You must swear that you will not use your power to rule over us. And you must teach us not just how to fight, but how to remain who we are while doing it." Morrison extended his hand. "You have my word, Elder Kithara. We'll fight for your freedom, not your submission." As they shook hands, both species knew they were taking a step into an uncertain future. But for the first time since the Vorthic threat had appeared, the Zephyrians felt something they had almost forgotten. They felt hope. 3 weeks after the alliance began, Commander Tony Parker stood on the surface of Kepler 7b, the Zephyrian moon that had become humanity's first base in this galaxy. Around him, Marines and Navy engineers worked alongside alien volunteers to build defensive structures. "How's the progress, Commander?" asked Chief Petty Officer Lara Jones as she approached with a group of Zephyrian workers. "Better than expected," Parker replied, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Their construction technology is amazing. What took us days on Earth, we can do in hours here." The Zephyrian named Kilos, who led the worker group, smiled proudly. "Our builders have perfected these techniques over centuries. We just never thought to use them for military purposes." Nearby, Sergeant First Class Billy Thompson was having a very different experience. He stood in front of 30 Zephyrian volunteers, trying to teach them basic combat moves. The aliens were awkward and slow, clearly uncomfortable with the idea of fighting. "Okay, let's try this again," Thompson said patiently. "When someone attacks you, you don't apologize to them first. You defend yourself." A young Zephyrian named Zara raised her hand. "But Sergeant, what if they're attacking because they're angry about something? Shouldn't we try to understand their feelings?" Thompson rubbed his temples. These people were so peaceful that they wanted to counsel their enemies instead of fighting them. "Zara, if someone is shooting at you, you can discuss their feelings after you survive." Lieutenant Sarah Wells was having better luck with the alien officers. She stood before a group of Zephyrian leaders, explaining human military organization using simple charts. "The key is clear command structure," she said. "Everyone knows who gives orders and who follows them. In battle, there's no time for discussion or voting." General Thyros looked troubled. "But our society is based on consensus. We make decisions together." "That works for peace," Wells replied. "In war, democracy can get you killed. You need someone who can make fast decisions when lives are on the line." Across the base, Intelligence Officer Carl Davis sat in a secure room with several captured Vorthic prisoners. The enemy soldiers were large, reptilian creatures with thick scales and sharp claws. They glared at him with yellow eyes full of hate. "Tell me about your fleet composition," Davis said calmly. The largest Vorthic spat on the floor. "We will tell you nothing, soft skin. When War Master Gorth arrives, he will tear your ships apart and feed your crew to his pets." Davis didn't react to the threat. He had interrogated terrorists, war criminals, and enemy soldiers for 15 years. Your War Master doesn't know what he's facing. "We've already destroyed 6 of your scout ships." The Vorthic laughed, a harsh sound like grinding metal. "6 ships? We have thousands. Your tiny fleet will be crushed like insects." "Maybe," Davis said. "But those 6 ships gave us all your communication codes, your weapons specifications, and your battle tactics. Every ship you lose makes the rest weaker." For the first time, doubt flickered in the alien's eyes. Captain Nick Johnson returned from a scouting mission with important news. He found Admiral Morrison in the command center, studying star charts with Elder Kithara. "Sir, we've located the main Vorthic staging area," Johnson reported. "It's in the Zerian system, just like the intelligence suggested." Morrison looked at the data Johnson provided. How many ships? At least 300, sir. But they're not positioned for defense. They're spread out across the system, like they're planning another invasion. They don't expect us to attack them, Morrison realized. They think we'll wait here and try to defend Zephyrian space. Elder Cathara looked confused. Isn't that what we should do? Protect our worlds? Not always, Morrison explained. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense. If we can hit their main force before they attack us, we can end this war quickly. Meanwhile, Commander Helen Baker worked with Zephyrian scientists in their research facility. Dr. Leidos, their head scientist, was amazed by human weapon technology. Your projectile weapons are so simple, yet so effective, Leidos said, examining a human rifle. We never thought of launching metal at high speeds. Sometimes the simplest solutions work best, Baker replied. Your energy weapons are impressive, but they need a lot of power. Our bullets work even when the power goes out. They had been working together to create hybrid weapons that combined human engineering with alien technology. The results were promising. Look at this, Dr. Leidos said, excitedly showing Baker a new rifle design. It uses our energy systems to accelerate your projectiles, much faster than chemical explosives. Baker tested the weapon at their firing range. The projectile punched through 3 sheets of Vorthic armor like paper. Now we're getting somewhere. Back at the training ground, Thompson was finally making progress with his Zephyrian students. Zara had stopped apologizing every time she threw a punch, and the others were learning to move like soldiers instead of dancers. Remember, Thompson called out, the enemy won't wait for you to get ready. They'll come at you fast and hard. You have to be faster and harder. One of the older trainees, named Corvex, raised his hand. Sergeant, what if we don't want to hurt anyone? Thompson stopped the exercise. This was the question he had been waiting for. Corvex, let me ask you something. Do you have family? Yes, a wife and 2 children. What would you do if someone tried to hurt them? Corvex thought for a moment. I would stop them. Even if it meant hurting the person trying to hurt your family? Yes, Corvex said quietly. That's all we're teaching you, Thompson said. How to protect the people you love. The Vorthic want to destroy everything you care about. We're showing you how to stop them. For the first time, the Zephyrians' eyes showed real determination. As the weeks passed, the base on Kepler 7b grew into a formidable fortress. Human engineering combined with Zephyrian technology created defenses unlike anything either species had built before. Admiral Morrison walked through the completed facility with Elder Cathara. Humans and aliens worked side by side, preparing for the war that was coming. Your people are learning quickly, Morrison observed. They're motivated, Cathara replied. For the first time in centuries, they believe they can actually fight back. They can, Morrison said confidently. But more importantly, they will. The Vorthic made a mistake when they threatened your people. What mistake? Morrison smiled grimly. They assumed you would face them alone. But now you have allies who know how to fight. And humans have a saying, nobody hurts our friends and gets away with it. In the distance, Vorthic ships were already moving toward Zephyrian space. War Master Gorth expected an easy victory against a peaceful species that had never known battle. He was about to learn that the galaxy had rules, and humanity was about to enforce them. Captain Greg Miller stood on the bridge of the USS Storm, watching his radar screen with calm focus. 3 Vorthic scout ships approached his position, moving in the arrogant formation of predators who had never met real resistance. Sir, they're hailing us, reported his communications officer. Put them through, Miller said. The main screen showed a reptilian face with yellow eyes and sharp teeth. The Vorthic commander spoke in a harsh, grating voice. Unknown vessel, you have entered. Vorthic space. Surrender now and your death will be quick. Miller smiled coldly. This is Captain Miller of the United States Navy. You have exactly 30 seconds to turn around and leave this system. The alien laughed. You dare threaten us with one small ship? We will tear you apart and use your bones as decorations. 20 seconds, Miller said calmly. You cannot be serious. We are 3 ships to your 1. 10 seconds. The Vorthic commander's laughter died as he realized this human was not afraid. What kind of species are you? Time's up, Miller said. Fire. All weapons. The USS Storm unleashed a coordinated strike that the Vorthic had never seen before. Missiles streaked through space while railgun rounds moved faster than the aliens could track. In less than 30 seconds, all 3 enemy ships were floating. Debris. Miller opened a channel to Admiral Morrison. Sir, first contact with enemy forces complete. 3 ships destroyed, no damage to our vessel. Any survivors? Morrison asked. Negative, sir. They didn't even have time to send a warning. Light years away, War Master Gorth paced angrily in his command ship. His scouts had disappeared without a trace, and he was beginning to suspect these. New allies of the Zephyrians were more dangerous than expected. Send a full battle group to investigate, he ordered his subordinate. 20 ships should be enough to deal with whatever destroyed our scouts. But Admiral Morrison had anticipated this response. He had spread his fleet across multiple systems, turning the Vorthic's numerical advantage against them. Lieutenant Commander Jenny Scott commanded a mixed squadron of human and Zephyrian ships near the colony world of Alterus Prime. Her crew included both species, with humans handling weapons and tactics, while Zephyrians managed the advanced sensor systems. Contact bearing 270, reported Zealous, her Zephyrian sensor operator. 20 ships, Vorthic configuration. Just like the Admiral predicted, Scott said. They're coming in spread formation, expecting easy targets. Her squadron included 2 human destroyers and 3 retrofitted Zephyrian cruisers. The alien ships had been equipped with human weapons and tactical systems, creating hybrids that were deadlier than either species could build alone. All ships execute Morrison Maneuver Alpha, Scott ordered. The human vessels accelerated toward the enemy, while the Zephyrian ships seemed to retreat. The Vorthic, seeing what looked like fleeing prey, rushed forward to attack the smaller human force. They flew directly into a trap. The Zephyrian ships had not retreated. They had positioned themselves to attack from behind, while the Vorthic focused on the human destroyers. When Scott gave the signal, her entire squadron opened fire from multiple directions. The Vorthic found themselves caught in a crossfire they couldn't escape. Their large, slow ships had been designed to intimidate weaker opponents, not to fight coordinated enemies who used superior tactics. In 15 minutes, the battle was over. 18 Vorthic ships were destroyed, with only 2 managing to escape. Colonel Matt Stevens led his Marines aboard one of the damaged enemy vessels that Scott's squadron had disabled. The boarding action was swift and brutal, with human soldiers moving through the alien ship like ghosts. Secure the bridge, Stevens ordered as his Marines systematically cleared each section. The Vorthic crew fought desperately, but they had never faced enemies like humans in close combat. The Marines were stronger, faster, and more coordinated than anything the aliens had encountered. Within an hour, Stevens had captured the entire ship and its crew. More importantly, he had access to their computer systems and communication networks. Admiral Morrison, this is Colonel Stevens, he reported. We have captured enemy intelligence assets. You're going to want to see this. The information from the captured ship revealed the true scope of the Vorthic Empire. They had conquered dozens of worlds through fear and overwhelming force, but they had never developed real military tactics. Dr. Paula Young worked with captured Vorthic technology in her laboratory on Kepler 7b. Alongside Zephyrian scientists, she had been developing new weapons specifically designed to counter enemy defenses. Their armor is strong but inflexible, she explained to Admiral Morrison during a briefing. It can stop energy weapons, but shatters under kinetic impact. What about their ships? Morrison asked. Big and intimidating, but poorly designed for actual combat. They have massive engines, but weak maneuvering thrusters. Once you get behind them, they can't turn fast enough to bring their main guns to bear. This intelligence proved invaluable as more battles erupted across the region. Human tactical doctrine spread through the Zephyrian resistance, teaching peaceful aliens how to fight back against their oppressors. Staff Sergeant Chris Lewis found himself training Zephyrian civilians in guerrilla warfare on the occupied world of Terminus 7. The planet had fallen to the Vorthic months earlier, but its people had never stopped hoping for liberation. Move fast, hit hard, and disappear, Lewis taught his alien students. Don't try to hold ground. Make them afraid to leave their bases. The Zephyrian fighters were natural students. Their advanced technology, combined with human tactics, made them incredibly effective at sabotage and ambush operations. Within weeks, Vorthic supply convoys were being attacked regularly. Communication stations went offline. Garrison troops reported mysterious explosions and equipment failures. The Empire's iron grip on its conquered territories began to weaken as resistance movements spread from world to world. War Master Gorth realized he was facing something unprecedented. These humans fought unlike any species he had encountered. They didn't just defend their territory. They actively hunted his forces. How many ships have we lost? He demanded from his intelligence officer. 47 confirmed destroyed, sir. Another dozen missing and presumed lost. And how many enemy ships have we destroyed? The officer hesitated. None, sir. We haven't managed to destroy a single human vessel. Gorth's claws scraped against his command chair. That's impossible. They have maybe 30 ships to our thousands. Sir, they don't fight like anything we've seen before. They use tactics, coordination, and weapons that seem designed specifically to counter our advantages. For the first time in his military career, War Master Gorth felt something he had never experienced before. He felt afraid. The tide of war was turning, and the Vorthic Empire was learning a hard lesson. They had built their power on terrorizing species who couldn't fight back. But humans came from a world where everything fought back, where survival meant becoming harder than whatever tried to kill you. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when an empire of bullies met a species that specialized in making bullies regret their choices. Admiral Morrison looked at the tactical display showing Vorthic forces retreating from 3 different systems. His gamble was working. By attacking aggressively instead of defending passively, he had thrown the enemy off balance. Sir, reported his communications officer, we're receiving surrender requests from Vorthic garrison forces on 4 different worlds. Morrison smiled. The Empire was cracking. Fear, their greatest weapon, was now working against them. Tell them we'll accept surrender only if they release all prisoners and withdraw from occupied territories, he replied. The war was far from over, but for the first time, victory seemed possible. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Valiant, watching the massive Vorthic home system grow larger on his main screen. Around his flagship, the combined human Zephyrian fleet moved in perfect formation toward the heart of the enemy. Empire. Sir, we're detecting over 200 enemy vessels in defensive positions around their core worlds, reported his tactical officer. Just as expected, Morrison replied calmly. They've pulled back everything they have to make their last stand here. Captain Rachel Torres commanded the assault group that would attack the primary fortress world. Her Marines had been preparing for this moment for months, studying Vorthic defensive positions and urban combat tactics. Remember, she told her officers over the comm system, we're not here to destroy everything. We're here to end this war and save lives. The battle began with a coordinated strike against Vorthic orbital defenses. Human missiles and railguns targeted enemy weapon platforms, while Zephyrian ships used their advanced sensors to guide the attacks with perfect accuracy. War Master Gorth watched his defenses crumble from his command center on the fortress world below. The human fleet moved like a single organism, each ship supporting the others in ways he couldn't understand. How are they coordinating so perfectly? He demanded. Unknown, sir, his aide replied. Their communication methods are unlike anything we've encountered. What the Vorthic didn't understand was that human military doctrine had been developed over centuries of warfare. Every tactic, every formation, every strategy had been tested in real combat and refined through experience. Major Pete Anderson led the ground assault on the fortress world. His Marines landed in multiple locations simultaneously, using tactics that confused and overwhelmed the Vorthic defenders. Remember, we're liberating this world, not conquering it, Anderson told his troops. Protect civilians, secure military targets, and minimize destruction. The Vorthic had never faced enemies who fought with such precision and restraint. They were used to brutal warfare, where victory meant total destruction. These humans fought to win, but also to preserve what they were fighting for. As the battle raged on the surface, Commander Eric Brown led a team of engineers to neutralize the Vorthic doomsday weapons. Intelligence had revealed that War Master Gorth would rather destroy his own worlds than surrender them. Sir, we've located the primary control center, reported Chief Warrant Officer Michelle Garcia. It's heavily defended. Then we go through the defenses, Brown replied. We can't let them destroy innocent lives out of spite. The engineering team fought their way through the fortress, using specialized equipment to disable the alien weapon systems. It was dangerous work, but humans had learned long ago that sometimes you had to risk everything to save everything. Meanwhile, the space battle continued above. The Vorthic fleet was larger than the human Zephyrian force, but size meant nothing. When facing superior tactics and technology, Captain Lisa Carter coordinated the final assault on the enemy command ship. Her boarding parties used the same techniques that had worked throughout the war: fast insertion, overwhelming firepower, and precision strikes. Surrender now, and your crew will be treated according to the laws of war, she broadcast to the Vorthic commanders. But War Master Gorth refused to give up. He had built his entire identity around being a conqueror, and he couldn't accept defeat from what he saw as inferior beings. The battle ended when Major Anderson's Marines stormed the planetary command center. War Master Gorth made his final stand in his throne room, fighting with the desperate fury of a cornered predator. But humans had been hunting predators for millennia. Anderson and his team subdued the War Master without killing him, following the rules of engagement that separated soldiers from murderers. It's over, Anderson said simply. News of War Master Gorth's capture spread throughout the Vorthic Empire within hours. Without their supreme leader, the various factions began fighting among themselves. The empire that had seemed invincible crumbled in a matter of days. Admiral Morrison found himself dealing with dozens of surrender requests from Vorthic commanders who wanted to end the fighting. Each surrender was handled carefully, with terms that protected both sides and established frameworks for lasting peace. Elder Kithara arrived at the former Vorthic capital world to witness the formal end of the war. She stood beside Admiral Morrison as representatives from dozens of liberated worlds gathered to establish a new galactic order. I never imagined this day would come, she said quietly. Neither did I, Morrison admitted. When your portal pulled us through, I thought we were facing an impossible situation. What happens now? Asked General Thyros, who had become an effective military leader during the war. Now we build something better, Morrison replied. We've won the war, but winning the peace is just as important. Dr. Amanda Foster had been working with representatives from every liberated world to establish the new Galactic Council. The humans insisted that they would not rule over the other species, but would help them create a system where all voices could be heard. Each world gets representation based on population, not military strength, Foster explained to the assembled delegates. And we establish laws that protect everyone, not just the strongest. The Vorthic themselves presented a complex challenge. Many of their warriors surrendered willingly once they learned that humans treated prisoners fairly. Others fought to the end, unable to accept a universe where strength alone didn't determine worth. Captain Amy Nelson found herself in charge of rehabilitation programs for former Vorthic soldiers. It was difficult work, trying to teach warriors, who had known only conquest, how to live in peace. Your empire is gone, she told a group of prisoners. But that doesn't mean your lives have to be over. You can choose to be part of something better. Some listened. Others didn't. But even small progress was still progress. On the technical side, Commander Helen Baker worked with scientists from multiple species to share knowledge and technology. The combination of human engineering, Cepharian energy systems, and even some Vorthic metallurgy created innovations that none of the species could have achieved alone. This is what cooperation can accomplish, she told Dr. Leidos as they watched their joint research facility come online. When species work together instead of fighting, everyone benefits. The most important development came when Earth finally re-established contact with the stranded fleet. Dr. Foster's research team had learned enough about the dimensional technology to create stable portals between the galaxies. Admiral Morrison were receiving a transmission from Earth Command. His communications officer reported excitedly. The main screen showed Admiral Patricia Hayes, Morrison's superior back on Earth. She looked stunned as she took in the sight of Morrison's bridge, now filled with both human and alien officers working together. Jake, when you disappeared, we thought you were dead, Hayes said. Now I'm getting reports that you've liberated an entire galaxy and established humanities. First Interstellar Alliance. It's been an interesting few months, Admiral, Morrison replied with a slight smile. The portal technology meant that Earth could now establish permanent colonies in this new galaxy. But the humans who chose to stay did so as partners, not conquerors. Commander Tony Parker oversaw the construction of New Geneva, humanity's first colonial city in Zephyrine space. The city was designed as a symbol of cooperation, with architecture that blended human and alien styles. This isn't just a human colony, Parker explained to the mixed construction crews. This is proof that different species can build something beautiful together. Meanwhile, the military alliance continued to evolve. Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Martinez established the Galactic Defense Academy, where officers from multiple species learned human military tactics adapted for their unique abilities. War should always be the last resort, Martinez taught his students. But when it becomes necessary, you need to be ready to win quickly and decisively. The Academy produced a new generation of officers who understood both the necessity of strength and the importance of restraint. They would be the guardians of the peace that so many had died to achieve. Elder Cathara found herself in an unexpected role as the first President of the Galactic Council. Her people's natural diplomacy, combined with lessons learned during the war, made her perfect for building consensus among very different species. We have learned that peace is not the absence of conflict, she said in her inaugural address. Peace is the presence of justice, cooperation, and mutual respect. 5 years after the war ended, Admiral Morrison retired from active duty to become Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council. He often walked through New Geneva, watching human children play with young aliens from a dozen different worlds. Dr. Foster established the Institute for Interspecies Studies, where researchers from across the galaxy worked to solve problems that affected everyone. Disease, resource scarcity, and technological challenges that had plagued individual species for centuries were solved through cooperative effort. Captain Lisa Carter became the first human to command a mixed-species crew on a deep space exploration mission. Her ship, the GCS Unity, carried representatives from 8 different worlds as they mapped uncharted regions of the galaxy.